welcome back to another video. Really excited about this one today. We're taking a look at the Pioneer DDJ-400 all-in-one controller. And these guys here, these are the Pioneer Hdj-X5 headphones. When I was growing up, when I was in college actually, believe it or not, I was a club DJ for many, many years. So when I was actually at my last place, I was considering starting to get back into the hobby. The problem was that place was a 2-bedroom, didn't have enough room, especially with my home office taking up so much space. It's a very big setup. Couldn't really get enough space wiggled in to set up a controller like this. But my new place is a 4-bedroom, so lots of room to grow into. So I've set up a little space upstairs. In doing my research, this was sort of the one of the front runners in terms of controllers on the market that are available today. Back when I used to be a club DJ, I was totally locked in to the Pioneer DJ world. I had their older over-ear headphones. I used to own, again, believe it or not, a set of Pioneer CJ2000 and a DJM-800 mixer. Very expensive, over-the-top setup, but the city that I grew up in, a lot of the clubs did not have any gear installed. So when you would actually go into the club, you were expected as a DJ to bring your own setup. I have a huge love for music, and I have a huge love for Pioneer DJ and what they do, and their craftsmanship and the quality of their products. This guy is not much different. So of course, this is a 2-deck, 2-channel mixer. You have on the back here USB, single USB in. It powers completely off of USB, connected to your computer. You don't need an external power supply, which is excellent. Obviously, Pioneer is thinking that this is for the mobile on-the-go DJ or that sort of hobbyist DJ with a small setup. You have a master right and left output, and you have an unbalanced mic with an adjustable level here on the back as well. Coming down on the front, you just have one small phone input for this guy, and then, pretty traditional layout. I mean, if you're comparing this to, again, CDJ2000 or a DJM-800, you're gonna be right at home here. And that's sort of why I went for this particular controller. Yes, I know there's some newer models on the market. Yes, I have heard some things about build quality on these compared to some of the newer models as well. But when you pair this controller with the Rekordbox DJ software, which you get a serial key for when you buy this unit, I mean, you are getting a huge amount of potential opportunity to experiment, especially with the effects, with cues. And the best part about Rekordbox, of course, is you can save all your presets and working cues, everything you do on the software, not just use it with this guy, but you can go to a club and full setup, and you're gonna be able to pop in a USB drive and load everything back up, just as if you were at home working on this guy. That's really, for me, the big thing. At this point, I'm not planning to get back into club DJing, but if it happened, and I'm using Rekordbox software, super easy. Not that I don't have experience with the full setup before, but for the hobbyist guy, like a new beginner, that transition is gonna be pretty seamless. Let's jump into it. I'll show you quickly how everything works, the layout, the features, and I'll take you through a quick mix, and we'll put it all together. I'll let you know my final thoughts. So let's get into the unit, how it works. Now, if you're not familiar with DJing, we'll go through sort of how it works in essence. I mean, essentially the point of DJing, whether you're mixing electronic music or hip hop or another genre, is really just to create a smooth transition from one track to the next, or some sort of transition that keeps the music flowing, doesn't cut out, isn't choppy, all that good stuff. It works with the Rekordbox DJ software, which I have loaded up over here. This unit's also really nice. It can power itself off of one USB cable, not Type-C, so I do have to have a dongle in the MacBook to run it, but it still powers it, no problem, no drop in performance or anything like that through the switch off, which is really nice. Essentially over here, play and pause, and cue. Cue is essentially the point in which you want your track to start. You set that using the jog wheel or in the software pre-programmed. There's hot cues here, there's 8 per deck. So you can store basically 8 starting points per deck, or per track, I should say. And when you load the track in through the software, it loads them here in the bank, and then you can trigger them 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And clicking them in here will set them as well. You hold this shift button here to basically activate and deactivate the hot cues. This is the tempo slider, so essentially the speed of the track. You have a beat loop, which is an effect. You have beat jump, which is an effect, and then you have a sampler, which is another set of effects. That's probably a little bit too technical for what we're going to talk about here. Up here you have loops. Essentially, if you want to repeat a part of the song over and over and over again. I typically use loops for outros, or if I've got a vocal snippet, I'll loop that, and that way I have like control of what part of the vocal is going to be played. You have a reloop function, so essentially quick reactivate that loop if you exit it, or the exit button. And these are cue loop calls, so that's jumping back and forth between your loop and cue points. This is the sync button. Kind of controversial in the DJ world when the software stuff started happening. Essentially, Pioneer created a way to synchronize everything to the beat grid in the software. So if you activate that with a quick tap, essentially the tracks won't come out of block. So it's not traditional. I don't actually use that function. When I was learning to DJ, I was doing it on CDJ 1000 units, which didn't have beat grid locking. So I'm used to beat matching using my headphones and my ears. The software sync is helpful, especially for beginner DJs, but it's sort of cheating. And now, if you're doing some sort of crazy, you got 4 decks in the mix and you're doing some crazy effects and all that good stuff, hey, go at it. It does save you the time of beat matching, so you can sort of be a little bit more on the fly, a little bit more dynamic. But for all intents and purposes, I'm not using that function. Skipping over here, you have headphone controls, 0 volume, 100 volume, and then you have sort of the mix. So the mix is essentially, is it on the cue points, which is the 2 tracks, or is it or is it the master, which is what's going out to the PA or to the crowd? So of course you would use the cue headphone setting if you want to just be listening in your headphones and not necessarily playing out the next track to the audience, but you can still line them up. So these are your cue activations, deck 1 and 2. These are your volume sliders for 1 and 2. Crossfader, that's typically for scratch DJs, but this is essentially like a hard cut. Deck 1, deck 2, in the middle, of course, then it's all reliant on what's happening here in the middle of the deck. Starting from top down, you have the load function. So this is basically a scroll wheel here that controls the software, and then you have a load on deck 1 and a load on deck 2. Trim knobs, that essentially is, if you have this at 100%, how loud is it going, right? How loud does the master send out? Essentially, once you get to the red clip on the channel level, that's where you want to stop. And then you have your high, mids, lows. And then what I also like about the DJ-400 is it's got a built-in high and low pass filter right here. So you can go all the way over, low pass, and all the way over for high pass. And it clicks nicely back in the middle to signify that you're at 0, so no filter. On full mixers, you typically trigger this with an effects section on the left-hand side, and then you bring that in with like a 0 to 100. Exactly the same settings for both of these decks here. And then this is master out. Now I don't have a master connected because I don't have an individual speaker system, but I'm routing the output through my laptop speakers. So this does nothing at this point, but that would control the master out to the PA, to the crowd. You can cue the master here as well. Beat effects, again, that's controlling what beat is triggered in the software. You have 4 different effects that you can configure in here. These are your beat parameters, so your speed, so quarter beat, half beat, full beat. If you're doing a loop or an echo or a delay effect, that's how you're going to kind of trigger and change the sound of the effect. Then you have the deck that it's applying to, so 1 and 2 or both or master. So it's a nice little, very solid feeling trigger. And then level depth, so that is how engaged is that effect. So 0 is a min, 100 is max. Then you have a nice click in the middle, right? And then this is your on-off for the effect. But yeah, that's essentially how it works. But there's so much more you can do with this. I mean, this is a very basic setup. For the price point, I mean, I think it's very well built. It's very sturdy. It's not sliding around. Knobs, well, they feel a little bit light, and they do have a little bit of wiggle to them. It doesn't feel like they're going to break off or anything like that. The jog wheels have a really nice feel. I actually would say these are very comparable to what you're going to get on, the CDJ 2000 or the Nexus 2. They do feel like that on the sides of these. I know the tops are much cheaper, but the layout is very, very similar to what you're going to get in a club style setup. So transitioning from this to a traditional in-club setup, it's going to be pretty much a no-brainer once you master this. And record box software, even if you're not using it with a controller, you can load that on a USB drive, take it to the club with you, plug it into the CDJ units, and using the LAN sync, you have the same functionality. A very good intro setup if you're looking to make the transition from a hobby DJ to a club DJ or a wedding DJ or something of a more professional caliber. This is the setup that's going to get you there the easiest. It's a very, very, very attractive offer, and I definitely recommend you check it out. So that's it, guys. That's the DDJ-400 and the Hdj-X5 headphones. I didn't really use them too much in the video. However, these guys have phenomenal sound, and they really do grip and they cup phenomenally. You can really block out sound and just focus in on your mix with these guys. I highly recommend them. So again, like I said before, there are better, newer, more robustly built units on the market, and I fully understand it and can appreciate all those different units. I've used several controllers in my day. I've used several mixers and several decks in my day. Each one has its advantages and disadvantages. Personally, for me, the ability to go from this unit here into a professional club setup, that is really the winning combination for me. And I think for a lot of hobbyists who aspire to maybe take this to the next level, I think that's gonna be a big selling feature too. Yeah, there's some concerns about durability, as I pointed out. Some of the knobs are maybe a little bit flimsy, but overall, I think this packs a very competitive package at a very good price point that is going to be very attractive for a lot of upstart hobbyist DJs or bedroom DJs that perhaps in the future want to elevate to the next level. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again very soon.